Have you ever paused and felt that the world around you is trying to say something even without words? There are moments when silence feels louder than noise, and the beauty of creation seems to whisper truths your heart has been longing to hear. Today's prayer is for the soul that feels overwhelmed, distracted, or distant, and needs to remember that God is still speaking, still revealing himself, still inviting us to listen. Stay until the end, because this psalm gently leads us from the vastness of the heavens to the quiet honesty of the human heart. Welcome to Daily Prayer, your moment to breathe, reflect, and reconnect with God. Take a slow breath, let your eyes soften. This is a sacred pause, a moment to step out of urgency and into awareness. You don't need to solve anything right now. You only need to listen. If this space brings peace to your soul, allow yourself to like and turn on notifications, so these moments of reflection are always here when your heart needs them. Psalm 19 begins, not with human words, but with creation itself. It reminds us that long before we speak, long before we pray, long before we search for meaning, God has already been revealing his glory. The sky above us, the rhythm of day and night, the quiet order of the universe all declare that we are not alone, and that this world is not random. There is a message being shared constantly. One day passes it to the next. One night whispers it to another. No language barrier exists. No translation is needed. Creation speaks in a way that every soul can understand, not through sound, but through presence. Maybe today your life feels noisy, thoughts racing, responsibilities piling up, screens constantly demanding attention, and in the middle of all this, your soul feels tired, disconnected, longing for clarity. This psalm gently pulls us away from the noise and lifts our gaze upward. It invites us to remember that God's presence is not confined to temples or moments of prayer alone. He reveals himself in light and movement, in warmth and order, in the steady rhythm that sustains life. The sun rises faithfully, crossing the sky with strength and purpose, touching everything in its path. Nothing escapes its warmth. In the same way, God's presence reaches places we don't always notice. Areas of our lives we may have ignored, rushed past, or tried to control on our own. David begins here for a reason. Before speaking about the law, before speaking about the heart, before speaking about sin or transformation, he reminds us who God is, the Creator who speaks constantly, patiently, faithfully, even when we are not paying attention. And maybe that is what your soul needs today. Not more answers, not more effort, but awareness. An awareness that God is already present, already revealing himself, already inviting you to slow down and listen. As this prayer continues, it will move from the vastness of the heavens to something more personal. The way God speaks not only through creation, but through truth that restores the soul and light that reaches the heart. Stay with me. What comes next turns our gaze inward, where God's voice becomes even more intimate and transformative. As the prayer continues, our gaze slowly moves from the vastness of the sky to something closer, more personal, more intimate. David now reminds us that God does not only speak through what he created, but also through what he reveals. The same God who ordered the stars also offers guidance for the soul. The same God who set the sun in its path also sets a path for the human heart. There is a deep contrast here. Creation speaks without words, but God's truth speaks directly to the soul. And when the soul is tired, confused, or restless, it longs for something that restores it from within. David understands this longing. He speaks of God's truth as something perfect, not because it controls, but because it heals, not because it restricts, but because it restores what has been worn down by life. When everything feels scattered inside, God's truth brings order. When the heart feels weak, God's guidance brings strength. This is not about rules written to burden us. It is about wisdom given to bring clarity, about light offered to those who feel lost, about truth that gently opens the eyes when the mind feels clouded. Maybe today you feel emotionally tired, mentally overwhelmed, spiritually unfocused, and maybe you have tried to fix that tiredness with distractions, with busyness, with constant noise. only to feel even more empty. David invites us to something different. He invites us to let God's truth speak quietly into our lives, to allow it to settle the heart instead of rushing it, to let it bring joy instead of pressure, to let it illuminate areas we may have ignored or avoided. There is something deeply comforting about this part of the psalm. God's guidance is not harsh. God's truth is not confusing. God's wisdom is not unstable. It is steady. It is trustworthy. It is life-giving. David describes God's truth as something more valuable than wealth and more satisfying than sweetness. Not because it gives instant pleasure, but because it nourishes the soul in ways nothing else can. Think about that for a moment. We live in a world that constantly offers us substitutes for fulfillment, success, comfort, approval, possessions. Yet so often, even after achieving them, something still feels missing. David understood this centuries ago. He knew that true satisfaction does not come from accumulation, but from alignment, from living in harmony with the truth God reveals, from allowing God's wisdom to shape not just behavior, but desire. And yet, as this prayer deepens, David becomes honest. He realizes that even with guidance, even with truth, the human heart is fragile. There are blind spots we do not see, patterns we repeat without noticing, thoughts we justify, motives we overlook. This realization does not lead him to fear. It leads him to humility. Because when you truly listen to God, you don't feel condemned. You feel invited. Invited to be cleansed. Invited to be real. Invited to be transformed from the inside out. And this prepares the way for the most personal part of the prayer, where David stops speaking about the heavens and the law and begins speaking about his own heart. Stay with me. What comes next is a quiet, honest conversation with God. One that invites purification, humility, and deep inner renewal. Now the prayer becomes deeply personal. David turns his gaze inward. After contemplating the heavens and embracing God's truth, he recognizes something humbling. Even when surrounded by divine beauty and guided by divine wisdom, the human heart remains vulnerable. This is where honesty replaces poetry. David understands that there are hidden places within us, thoughts we overlook, intentions we justify, patterns we repeat without noticing. Not all failures are loud. Some are silent. Some live beneath the surface, unseen even by ourselves. And this realization does not push him away from God. It draws him closer. Instead of pretending perfection, David chooses humility. He acknowledges that no one fully sees their own blind spots, that even sincere hearts can wander, that even faithful souls need grace. There is something profoundly comforting in this part of the prayer. God does not ask us to come flawless. He asks us to come honest. David asks to be purified not only from visible mistakes, but from the hidden ones. The ones that escape awareness, the ones buried deep in thought and motive. This is not fear speaking thesis truth. Trust that God's mercy reaches deeper than ourselves. Maybe today this resonates with you. Perhaps you strive to do what is right. You try to live with integrity. You care about your faith. And yet, you sense there are areas within you that need healing, places where pride quietly grows, habits that slowly shape the heart, thoughts that influence choices without announcing themselves. David names one danger, clearly pride. Because pride is subtle. It doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. It convinces us we are self-sufficient. It resists correction. It hardens the heart without warning. David does not ask God to remove his enemies here. He asks God to guard his heart. He understands something essential. The greatest battles are not always external. Some are internal, and victory begins when the heart remains humble, teachable, and aligned with God. This is a prayer of surrender. A surrender not of weakness, but of control. A surrender that says, God, I trust you to shape me more than I trust myself. And in that surrender, something beautiful happens. The heart becomes lighter. The soul becomes clearer. The spirit becomes receptive. David's desire is not to appear righteous, but to be whole. To be clean not only in actions, but in intentions. To live without the quiet weight of hidden guilt or unaddressed pride. This prepares the way for the final movement of the prayer. Because when the heart is aligned, when humility opens the door, words and thoughts begin to matter deeply. What we speak, what we meditate on, what we allow to live within us. The prayer now moves toward a gentle, reverent conclusion, where David offers not only his life, but his inner world to God. Stay with me. The final part brings everything together. Creation, truth, humility, and devotion into a peaceful surrender before God. Now the prayer comes to rest, not in answers, but in surrender. After lifting his eyes to the heavens, after listening to truth that restores the soul, after confronting the hidden places of the heart, David arrives at a quiet and sacred conclusion, a place where words slow down, where ambition fades, and where the soul simply wants to be pleasing before God. There is no noise here, no demand, no urgency, only presence. David understands that what truly matters is not how impressive his life looks from the outside, but what is happening within. The words he speaks, the thoughts he entertains, the meditations that shape his heart in silence. This is where faith becomes deeply intimate. He does not ask for success. He does not ask for recognition. He does not ask to be admired. He asks that his inner life would be aligned with God, that what flows from his mouth would be sincere, that what settles in his heart would be pure, that his thoughts would rest in truth rather than drift into pride or distraction. This is a prayer of alignment, a prayer that says, God, let my inner world reflect your presence. A prayer that invites God not only into actions, but into intentions. A prayer that longs for harmony between belief and being. There is something deeply peaceful about this moment, because when the soul stops striving, it starts resting. When the heart stops hiding, it starts healing. When the spirit surrenders control, it finds freedom. David recognizes God not only as creator and teacher, but as his rock and redeemer, the one who stabilizes him when everything else shifts, the one who restores what life has worn down, the one who remains when distractions fade. And this truth extends gently to us. In a world that constantly demands performance, God invites sincerity. In a culture that rewards noise, God welcomes quiet devotion. In a life full of pressure, God offers rest. Take a moment. Now, let your breathing slow. Let your thoughts settle. Let your heart be still. You do not need perfect words. You do not need impressive prayers. You only need a willing heart. If today you feel distracted, overwhelmed, or spiritually tired, this prayer reminds you that God is not far, is present, is speaking through creation, through truth, and through the quiet movements of your own heart. Let this be your offering. A gentle surrender, an honest reflection, a peaceful alignment. If this prayer brought clarity or comfort to your soul, share it with someone who may need to slow down and listen again. And remember, daily prayer is always here for you, a place to breathe, reflect, and reconnect with God. May your words be sincere, may your heart be at peace, and may your life quietly reflect the glory of the God who speaks even in silence.